Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and extremely easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. To get started, go to anchor.fm/start. Once again, that's anchor.fm/start. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. Oh yeah, those of you that know me, that know me for quite a long time, yes, Jay has his own podcast. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody, I don't care. Jay has his own podcast. I know you'll laugh. I know you'll make fun of my ideas. That's perfectly fine. I'm not here to not make people laugh. Gosh, I make people laugh all the time. People laugh, make fun of me every single day. That's perfectly fine with me, but Jay has his own podcast. That has a weird ring to it. I never thought that would be able to be said about me. But here we are. Jay's podcast about sports. Sports have been a huge part of my life, and a lot of people that I know, a lot of people in my life, sports is a part of their life as well. When I get off work, I try to find a game to watch. On the weekend, I sure hope there's a game that interests me to watch, because there's always something on. There's always something of interest to some type of sports fan. But I try to find those things that interest me, especially with there being the NBA playoffs on right now. There's a game on almost every night. With the second round almost being over, those games start to get spread out a little bit. There won't be on every night. There may be every other night or things like that. Teams need travel. Teams need time to rest and things like that. But before I get too in-depth into what's to come with the podcast, I first want to say a nice happy Mother's Day to all my mother, Carol, Anita, Bab Stevens, and all the other moms out there. Saying my mom's full name like that feels weird coming off the tongue, because it's not something that I say on a regular basis. But Mom, you've been my number one fan. You've been my main encourager. And you've always been there to push me, encourage me. And even when I was younger, when I deserved it, you whooped me. You were not afraid to get that belt out and whoop me. I deserved it. I deserved it. I was a knucklehead. I didn't listen. I talked back. I was your typical knucklehead kid. I listened at times, but I don't believe there's a kid. No one likes to listen all the time. We all have a rebellious side in us. And when mine came out, my mom was not afraid to get that belt out and remind me who was boss and who was in charge of the house. This afternoon, we had a good time at Juicy Seafood. My mom decided to go to a restaurant that she had never been to, but she went to a place similar down in Atlanta, Georgia, where she was visiting with her aunt. And Juicy Seafood was a good time. We had good conversation. My mom, my dad, my brother were there. It's rare for us to have time together like we used to, with my brother and I having our own lives and doing things, being the young men that we are. It was nice to have us all together. My mom, after that, since the restaurant didn't have a dessert menu, and now that I say it again, it was a little odd that they didn't really have dessert. The only form of dessert that they had was a little small piece of cheesecake, and my mom said, no, I'm not really feeling that right now. So we went to one place to get dessert. As my mom's fashion was, she wasn't feeling it after she walked inside of the door. So we left and went to Cold Stone. My mom got a brownie with some ice cream on top. My dad got some ice cream. My brother and I sat there while they ate their ice cream, and we just enjoyed some more good time, a conversation, communication with each other. And it was a good time. Mom, I really appreciate everything you've done. I want to say once again, happy Mother's Day. What can you expect with the podcast? This first episode will not be lengthy. I just want to do a little introductory podcast to let you know what's going to be talked about, what's going to be discussed. There will be different ideas that come across my head, different topics that interest me that will be discussed. There may be things that I see on TV. Maybe things that I hear on the radio, different articles, or maybe something that I hear that brings my own personal idea that I will be utilizing to to talk about during the podcast. It will be every Sunday. Now down the road, it may be a multiple podcast a week episode show. But right now, especially with myself being a beginner, I don't want to get it over my head. So a weekly podcast fits me and my schedule the best. I have talked to a few of my friends, and they have said that they would like to be guests on the podcast. So that'll be fun. I'm going to do my best to keep this clean. I don't want to be a vulgar podcast where even I will not be vulgar at all. But if any of my guests come on, I will do my best to prep them and say, hey, let's keep this as clean as possible. You never know who's going to be listening, and things like that. We are in the midst of the NBA playoffs, and I'm sure some of my guests that come on, they have their own ideas, own thoughts of what's to come. And at work, we discuss a lot of things, quite a bit. Who's going to win this game? What are your thoughts on that game? How will this player play? How will that player play? Things like that. Predictions are a thing that sports fans love. So I'm sure you hear a lot of predictions from myself, and what will be a fun ride, I believe, for down the road. Before I get going, I do have one quick thing to say about the Game 7 mentality. We've already ended one series of one Game 7 earlier where Portland beat Denver, and Portland will be facing Golden State in the Western Conference Finals starting early next week. But we're in the midst of one intense battle between the Toronto Raptors and the Philadelphia 76ers. I almost mixed those two names and said them backwards. Allen Iverson, one of my favorite players growing up to watch, had a tattoo on one of his arms that said, "Only the strong survive." It was fitting that he had the tattoo on him because of him being one of the smaller guards in the league. I won't say the smallest, but one of the smaller guards in the league. He came up big in so many situations. If my memory serves me correctly, and I could be wrong with this, I believe the year that they went to the finals, they had to get through the Indiana Pacers, one of my favorite teams, to get to that NBA Finals to face the Los Angeles Lakers, where they eventually lost in 5 games. But Allen Iverson, known for being little, only in stature. On the court, he was every bit but little. Came up big all the time. We never saw a shot he didn't like. Never saw a competitor he didn't want to compete with. And I believe that's the same mentality that a lot of these players need to take into a Game 7. Only the strong survive. A lot of TV shows, a lot of people promote the win or go home saying when promoting shows, when promoting Game 7s and especially playoff games in general. You have to leave it all on the line. You have to forget about the previous 6 games. Forget about your previous performances. Forget about everything else, because this is it. If you don't play hard now, if you don't play well now, you very well could be out of the playoffs and going home and having an early vacation. Yeah, you want to have as long a summer as you want, but these players, this is their livelihood. They know there's money on the line. They know that there's a potential championship ring on the line. They don't want to go home. They don't want to go home to their kids early. They don't want to start watching their kids' AAU games early. No, they don't want to do that at all. They want to keep playing. They want to keep fighting. They want to keep going on. And I believe that win or go home mentality, that only the strong survive tattoo that Allen Iverson had on his arm, I believe that tattoo is the same mentality that all these players need to have today in these games. I sure hope, as a sports fan, the Game 7 goes on to the finals, that we have another game, that we have more Game 7s. Not only in the conference finals, but in the NBA finals as well. Yeah, I'm sure the players will be tired, and I'm sure commentators and those working the games will be tired, but it's fun to watch. It's enjoyable. Sit at home, get on the couch, get something to drink, get your little snack, and just enjoy the competition. Enjoy the raised stakes. Enjoy everything that goes on with the battle, the fight, the intensity of a Game 7. Looking forward to having fun with everyone down the road. Looking forward to what this podcast has. Every week, sitting down, just talking about different things that come across my mind. Occasionally, talking about different topics as well. But hey, this is all going to be for fun. This is Jay Stevens. You can follow me on Twitter at Dr_J25. Once again, that's at Dr_J25. Going to have some fun. Going to be looking forward to have my own show. Never thought I would have that. Never thought I'd be able to say that Jay has his own show. But here we are. Looking forward to what's to come. Different discussions that will be had, and hopefully we'll see what happens. You never know what may happen. Who will be discussed? There may be some guests that don't talk about sports, but we'll see about that. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We're going to have fun with this. I want to thank the good people at Anchor.fm for allowing a free platform for podcasters like myself to broadcast and publish their podcast. So down the road, they'll be able to get their podcasts out to as many people as possible for no charge at all. This is Jay Stevens of the Jay Stevens Podcast. This is episode 1. Looking forward for episode 2 next week.